not just having only the compared to men, women have a lot of other diseases. For example, with one diagram, I just want to show you. See, there are many stages where women will come across different kinds of infections, or the stages are it can be from the infancy to the elderly years. Women have many life cycles. Okay, in the puberty, many of in our villages, they don't bother if the early puberty also there and the late puberty is also there. But early puberty, they'll think it is only they don't know it is actually a problem for a girl child what they're undergoing, but that they are not consulting any doctor and finding out a solution. Okay, but puberty, there is it is live example where I have experienced. There is a one girl. She is now 25-year old, but still she has not come to the phase of puberty. But they never consulted a doctor. They're thinking it happens naturally. But this is a major issue because it's a lady is she is not undergoing any of the other phases. Like in a reproductive stage, it is where I remember once Sudhamurthy in a parliament stated that cervical cancer, the vaccination has to be given with as like a COVID vaccination is given. That's the similar way a girl in a reproductive stage she has to receive vaccination because cervical cancer is the second highest women death is happening in all over India. This has to be noticed with a serious issue, but government has to take an initiative to build up that because we know urban also. I'm just telling you disparities. I'm talking about rural as well as urban. Even still, I'll tell you, many of us have not taken that what you call that vaccination of the cervical cancer. Even we are because that's a disparity. Even we are all well educated, but many of us still we are not approaching a gynecologist to find out. Okay, but this at least we have education. We have not come forward. Think about the rural atmosphere. We have a lack of infrastructure, first of all. One more, what is common things we are facing in both rural and urban is the poverty. Every woman who are in the rural or in urban, they are not rich enough to take up all the vaccination by themselves. But this is government has to take an initiative to build the gap between the rural and urban sector. There are many various factors which affects the woman health. As I told you, early childbearing, pure hygiene. I just wanted to make a note of this. Still in the rural sector, especially they can't even afford the sanitary pads which is available, and there is no medical show. First of all, it's available in the rural sector to take up a monthly what is necessary. They have to go to the city and purchase it, and they have lots of hesitation. Even we talk, we're most educated, but still that word will not come guts and will say that we have lots of we have what you call it self or demotivate. I don't want to speak such kind of things in a publicly, so you avoid it. But that is the reason still you don't believe many of the rural women are still rely on the old methodology. Okay, this who has to bring the gap is, say, I as a person I can get just go and educate. How many people as a woman can educate is only whom I am very close atmosphere, but I can't educate every corner of the lady. So what are the strategies? I'll just only mention the strategies here. The strategy what we are proposing here is the public campaigns. So where a public campaign is not through a person is going and standing in front and proposing. Instead, we all use as a social media, correct? All people are nowadays rather than watching anything, they are behind the social media. Why can't government can take up one Instagram account, create the social schemes whatever we mentioned here, and if they come with an approach so that everybody know, and that to be in the regional languages. So it's not like only English is the mode of communication, because many of the rural people will not understand English. So if it has come up with their own regional languages, I think it will help that to bring the gap. Okay. So next we have other when we collaboration with NGOs. Every institution, NCC and NSS camps are mandatory. But what are we doing as a part of your curriculum or as a part of our committee? We're just going university. But if I take this as a chance, promote this in the nearby villages, rural sector. How can they maintain their self hygiene? I'm not telling them to take care of the environment. Let them be hygiene to themselves, okay, so that they cannot affect with other infections. The very important thing is mobile health units, where we are seeing everywhere mobile food trucks are there. Similarly, if they have a mobile where people are there to help them to guide them what kind of hygienes they can maintain. And then we have printed materials where we can distribute the complex in their language, and this has to be what you call a loop. It's not like once I have done it, it has to be done every month at least once, because people should be educated. Education is the lacking. We are studying master's doctorate, but still we are unable to educate the what you call cornered people in our rural sector. This has to be bridged the gap. So that is where we can bridge it with the help of what you call community outreach programs. We can build something like bring. See, many of our villages very forwarded nowadays, but we are lacking with what the educated people of the same village is not educating the people who are existing in the rural. Many people are getting doctor. They are becoming a doctor, but the doctor is not coming back to the village and educating the people, creating an awareness. So this can be tied up like your rural. We all have panchayats. We all have community where we can reach out those people. They will create a session so that we can. It is a promotion for me also. It's an advertising myself. What good I am, so that I can bring out 10 people of my knowledge together. Then this can be bridge that gap. We cannot depend more on the government. It is individual initiative. Everybody have to take up. Education is not only having the degree. It is how am I building a society surrounding. That is what an education. So finally, I'll conclude with one slogan says, women, this is one, we have collected a secondary data where these are the urban and mortality rate of your maternal, rural and urban. In the rural, lots of people, as I told if they're not getting conceived, they'll not approach the doctor. They'll keep thinking and, they're crying themselves because they're still in this era of digital transmission is happening. We are lacking and denying on it. Okay, I know I'm taking more of time. This is a telemedication adoption where through the video calls, if anybody can guide them, this can be built. Other one is the community health workers has drastically improved, but it is only improving in the urban places, not in the rural places. Okay, so finally I conclude: woman is a woman, whether she is in the rural or in the urban. Okay, because she is the bundle of happiness. A woman is not there in a family. A family cannot be happily survive at all. So, woman, I just wanted to give an explanation of a woman word. Woman is a wonderful mother. Woman is an outstanding sister. She is a marvelous daughter, and she is what you call about eternity to the entire family. Finally, she's the gift of the world by the God.
I just have one. I mean, it is just a suggestion. It's a very good concept, but my point is rather than you could have made it as a comparative study about the rural and the urban,
Yes, correct.
because it is more focusing from the rural point rather than talking from the urban, because urban is already in the movement trend.
Yes, correct.
So you should have focused more. The title should have been more focused towards the rural development sector. Second thing, I'm not convinced with the word settings.
Okay.
Like your title says rural and urban settings. That settings define what? It is, not being very clear for me. I mean, I couldn't get it. What exactly we want to talk about. And it's a elusive study. So it's, had it would have been a comparative study about the rural and urban development cities that we have been focusing on, this can come out as a wonderful project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next presenter is Professor Chitra Dira, then Sub College of Arts, Science and Commerce. Title of the paper is Stress Management, Work-Life Balance Strategies for Women. Also, Dear participants, please stick on to the time limits. It is 5 plus 2.
Well, good afternoon to one and all present here, my panel members and the audience. The title that I have chosen is Stress Management, Work-Life Strategies for Women. My name is Professor Chitra D. Rao and I have published this paper presenting it with two more co-authors. One is Professor Shakila and one is Professor Rashmi Umarjina. Work-life balance, when it comes to women, we are the ones who encounter a lot of challenges, whether it's about family or the work, the pressure is with us. So there is an imbalance obviously to set it, and here this is something that builds up the stress among women, and that's why there are strategies that we have been suggesting. The review of literature, I was focusing more about the evolution. Pandemic and post-pandemic, we've gone through not only women but even men, but the focus of the paper was primarily about women, especially in terms of caregiving mothers, the imbalance that sets and the stress that builds up. So how she channelizes, how she goes through this struggle. The objective of the paper was more about examining the evolution, identifying key trends, the organizational practices, the policies that are framed. Are they gender centric or is there any imbalance in that? The future research, identifying the research gap and the focus. The methodology was purely used by secondary data and the focus areas. The key challenges were technology, gender dynamics, the constant changes, and the new system that we are incorporating today, the generational differences. We come with an era where women has gone through a different channelizing. We talk about Generation Z or the Alpha Beta, the ideology in terms of behavioral pattern or in terms of expression, whether the work, how seriously they take. So there was a lot of impact even on that. The strategies that include are time management. If we focus as women more on realistic achievement, realistic goals, something that within the time frame could be achieved, that could lower down the stress. Setting priorities, obviously, when it comes to work and when it comes to personal life, anyone would give a priority to personal life, especially in that case of a woman. It's a very challenging situation which builds a lot of stress, which is not very expressible also. So how she goes about balancing that. So strategically how you balance. There were specific goal settings, scheduling, boundaries that we could fix around. Additional strategies that were suggested were taking care of health. Today, most of us, we are very inverted, as in we do not identify that there is a problem and it requires solution. So when it comes to health or when we speak about me time, it's always a luxury rather than it's a requirement. So when it comes to women, I think it's time that we get little selfish and we say it's fine to have some me time. Nurturing relationships, exercising, work strategies that could be adopted. The findings and the discussions were work-life balance in multi-dimension, gender equality. When we speak about gender equality, still there is a notion whether we are in a modern setup or we are rural background. When it comes to packaging, like as in pay packages, women are always looked downward. This is a notion worldwide in any field. You speak about, cinema, drama, you talk about politics, you go anywhere. When it comes to women, I don't think any one of us put in less efforts that we should be underpaid. But that's a problem. That creates a stress. Generational preferences, again, when it comes to hiring, I don't know why people, my previous, I shouldn't be saying, but my previous experience, we were asked, are you married? Do you bear kids? So that, your continuity in the work life would be something guaranteed. You won't skip the job within 1 year and shift somewhere. But for men, these questions are never asked. I do not know why. Yeah, sorry if I'm being feminist, but that's something that builds stress in women. And of course, we need to strategize. Organizational policies should incorporate flexible work hours understanding, employee well-being, and job satisfaction. In my corporate experience, I've seen Ernst& Young has come up with a very good system. I mean, I'm talking about ages back. It had a care center at its own space. So you could take your toddlers, infants, Either you get a nanny along or they would provide it. It would be not charged. It's like a mother feels really comfortable when her child is front of her. So these kind of policies could be adopted by many other sectoral companies and corporate to bring in a work-life balance when it is women in particular. The conclusion of the paper would be balanced work-life environment. We need to create one, insist one, and I think it should start within and internally where your family support plays a very crucial role. Okay, the notion has to get over. Cooking part or domestic related is very pertaining to women. When you also feel hungry and you eat, then you also need to know how to cook. That should be the ideology. Strategies, evidence-based policies, future outlook. The overall conclusion that I would say is, before I move on to conclusion, I have just figured out a few research gaps which could be worked further. One is cross-cultural. The papers I scrutinized, it's a conceptual paper, and I've come with this paper where I did not look at a comparative statement of women of other places. I was in particular about India, so that could be a research gap for further exposure. Social economic factors, impact of remote work, longitudinal studies on work-life balance. There has to be a continuous study, and we can come up with a better understanding of strategies to be implemented. Technological role, how crucial it is today, and how we can, rather than saying technology has made our life easier and simpler, it's also the double-sworded weapon where we might have facing difficulties due to it. So how do we incorporate that? Psychological, emotional well-being, sectoral specific, and impact of organizational culture. To end the talk, I would like to say the future scope of the paper would be about holistic work-life balance for women in particular, where we are giving a lot of time as in to take care of her mental well-being, vacation, and also certain obligatory work to be balanced in the family. Gender-specific policies. The companies can also come with the metrics. Like today, most of the corporate and multinational companies comes with a X factor theory. The X factor is okay, you work. Just the X factor theory is about that okay, you do the work, you are also balancing your life, but then what is that X factor in you? That's where we see a lot of people today from corporate coming for stand-up comedy and all that. Same way, there should also be a metrics placed where the policy can be reframed that how much women is giving time for herself. On that basis, also the performance can be geared. That would be about it. Thank you so much.
Okay, my first question. How did you find that all the strategies? What are the methods that you have implemented?
So it's a conceptual paper, so there was no question in it. Secondary data, I've gone through certain.
So there are so many strategies. It is not only
Yes.
that you have whatever strategies that you have that identified. It is only those. How did you select among that so many strategies? Which method that you have?
I limited it into something which could be practically implemented. So I did not elaborate.
Practically implemented.
Implemented
That
as
means
in-
you have visited the different organization. Did you talk to that any expert?
Not in particular. It's just the study that I've done about few organizations, as I said about E&Y. So few companies, like what are they adopting? What are the new trends of things that they are adopting? All that.
Yes.
I have co-author of this.
Yes.
Sir, the thing strategy, what you are talking, it depends upon the profession of the woman, and it is depends on the timing on which they are
question
working.
is
According to
simple,
that, we can fix
how
the
did
strategy.
you identify 4, 5, 6, whatever the strategies among the so many strategies? How did you identify? It is
Sir,
your choice.
No, it is our professional choice because it's a work-life balance. So, in which profession I am, according to that, I'll fix the strategy.
So it is based on that your experience.
Yeah,
Okay.
our experience.
Fine. The next
Because
question-
doctor will have a different
Okay,
strategy,
fine, fine.
academician
Thank you.
will have a
Thank you.
different strategy.
How can you give the suggestion? Because that any suggestion that you are going to give to whom to that you want to suggest, and that you should feel that one that should be implemented. It should not be that research work should be something in that it should not be limited to the classroom or this presentation part only. So somewhere that it is, or that do you identify that any place that implementation it happens, and if implementation it happens, what the outcome or result that they got.
So the thing is, it
We
is
do
related
identify
to
it.
humanitarian. So the people who wants a counseling on this problem, when they need a stress, if they have a stress, and we want to, the strategy should be implemented on the people who have a stress, and
Okay,
we
that
want to
should be
consider.
implemented. It has not been implemented. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to answer this question.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yes.
not a part of the
But it is applicable to every woman here.
Yes.
Every woman here.
Because that I want
No,
to know.
actually, we are talking only from the research point of view, ma'am, not as a general. Like, you know, when we say about stress management, because that's my topic, so I can definitely talk more on that. Like, stress management, you have given work life balance. So, when Chaitra ma'am was giving the example about, corporates. Corporates have a different culture and the academia have a different culture. So, whenever you define a strategy, the strategy will change based on the
Profession.
correct. That segment was missing. In terms of when you're presenting,
Yeah.
you could have just written that, like, you know, the reviews have been collected on these three parameters. Like when I did the comparative study of academia and corporates. So
This was
defining,
mentioned in the paper,
yeah.
but missed in the video.
Okay, so that is a one point. Second thing, what when ma'am told the research gap, so I think in the first point what you have given that is already being covered, the comparative study. However, longitudinal study, if you will do it on one particular parameter, like, you know, could be academics, could be corporate, about the structural development which has taken place, that can become again
Yeah,
new
we'll do the
research
specialized.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Depends
that
on the
is-
specialities.
yeah.
We can till micro level we can do that.
that is that can become actually a good study.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next participant is Juhi Jain, Iicssr College of Arts, Science and Commerce. Title of the paper is Digital Literacy and Women's Career Readiness, Evaluating Educational Programs, Challenges and Best Inclusive Practices.
No, be careful with the wire on yellow color wire.
All the best. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure to be here today to present our research on digital literacy and women's career readiness, evaluating educational programs, challenges, and best inclusive practices. This study is a part of a broader discussion on fostering inclusivity and empowerment for women and Divyangjan. I am Nirjala Mahajan, presenting along Juhi Chen and Professor Ashwini Vaswaraju. Through this presentation, we will explore the role of digital literacy in shaping women's career paths. Digital literacy is an essential skill in today's world, influencing both professional and personal growth. It involves the ability to access, interpret, and use digital platforms effectively. On the other hand, career readiness refers to acquiring the technical and soft skills necessary for employment. However, women often face difficulties in acquiring digital skills, leading to limited career opportunities. In this study, we examine the impact of digital literacy on women's employability and evaluate existing training programs that support their career development.
Our study focuses on three key objectives. First, to examine the relationships between digital literacy and career readiness for women. Second, to assess current educational programs to see if they are inclusive and accessible for women. And lastly, to identify challenges and best practices to encourage women through digital education. By addressing these objectives, our research highlights the solutions for women in bridging the digital gender gap. To guide our study, we explored several questions. The three main among them were: how does digital literacy impact women's career readiness? What are the barriers that women face while accessing digital skills? And lastly, How can educational and policy intervention improve digital literacy areas for women? Existing studies show that women in rural areas have limited access to digital resources. Gender disparities in STEM fields further restrict career opportunities for women. While many existing studies have identified these challenges, but only a few of them study the long-term impact of digital literacy on women's career. Our study aims to fulfill this gap. For our study, we conducted a literature review and secondary data analysis using sources such as government reports from UNESCO, World Bank, and Digital Empowerment Foundation. Academic journals also played a key role in our research. A detailed case study was held on Iicssr and Sudhamurthy's village adoption scheme. Our focus areas include identifying digital literacy barriers, assessing training program effectiveness, and suggesting policy recommendations.
We examined Vidyaloka and Sudhamurthy's village adoption initiative for our case study. Sudhamurthy's village adoption initiative focuses on digital skill development on rural women and and address infrastructure gaps and societal restrictions. These case studies demonstrate that community-driven digital training programs can create sustainable career opportunities for women. Our analysis highlights key gender disparities in digital literacy. According to UNESCO 2023, 31.2% of women are digitally literate compared to 68.8% of men. Only 26.7% of women work in STEM-related fields, showing a significant gap in technical education and career opportunities. Several factors contribute to these disparities, including limited infrastructure, social resistance, and workplace biasness. Our key findings indicate that women with digital skills are 25% more likely to gain formal employment. 60% of women who acquire digital skills successfully expand their businesses online, demonstrating entrepreneurship growth. 70% of digitally literate women actively use mobile banking, increasing financial inclusion. Digital learning platforms improve access to education by 40%. These statistics reinforce the need for more inclusive digital training programs.
Despite several benefits, challenges still persist. Lack of infrastructure in rural and underserved areas, affordability issues as many women do not have the resources to access digital tools. Social norms, societal constraints also limit women's opportunities. Workplace exclusion, gender biases limit women's growth in these areas. Our research also had some limitations which we would be uncovering in our future projects. To address these challenges, we have the following recommendations. Women-centered digital training programs should be established that cater to their specific needs. Public-private partnerships should be strengthened. Promoting STEM education for women from an early age should be mandated. Subsidized digital learning should be made necessary for women. The future scope of our research includes conducting primary research on women's digital learning challenges, studying AI and automating and enhancing women's digital education, and expanding digital entrepreneurship programs for women-led businesses. In conclusion, digital skills are a crucial factor in unlocking new career opportunities. Our studies identify the challenges that women face and also suggest policy reforms to ensure that no woman is left behind in this digital era. Thank you, and we welcome any questions you may have.
For me, they're just the kids. What will I ask? See, whether it is purely based on your secondary data analysis, right? Okay, you're a BCom student or BBA? First year?
Second year.
Second year. Then you people could have done a little bit more in terms of you people have given somewhere about the case study, right? The complete your this research can be developed on a case study on the theme, whatever you want to choose. Okay, you cannot combine the case study and the research paper together. Okay, take it one as a theme and take it one protagonist in your case study, and then develop your case on the same theme. It will come out well.
We'll take care of that in our future projects.
Okay, so digital literacy barriers. So can you identify which are the different barriers that you have identified?
So the first barrier, according to me, would be the barriers we create in our own mind. As humans, we all need air to breathe. But for
No
men,
need explanation. Only you say that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the barriers?
societal norms, and educational barriers, infrastructure barriers, gender biases.
Is all the barriers only for women?
No, they are for everyone, but mostly women are more alluded for these.
UNESCO identified these are the things. They did not take the data from the India. Because in India, the majority, the women only are the digital literate and digital devices they are using. The maximum people, if the study identified to that one, either it is a rural, we can say now the rural women are making the more reels comparable to the type of urban women. Because urban women are working in the office, rural women are not working, but they are using that all that. So there is no lead that we cannot identify that any digital literacy barriers. Now the literacy means what purpose? That means implementation to the different education field or any other. But now we can say the literacy in the different language. Literacy not makes sense that you should be graduate or postgraduate. Literacy now it is a term. Either you can be the employable or something productive for the society. The people are education. They are not educated, but they are more literate than that all the educated people because they are putting more contribution to our economy with the different types of activities. So that's why that you should identify that which are the barriers. There are so many barriers. Did you identify or not?
We have identified some
Yes.
of the barriers.
So that if you can share with us.
Societal constraints like we only think that women are supposed to work in the kitchens and all that, but nowadays it is changing. Even with the changing times, we don't give the equal opportunities for women. We know that they should get the opportunities, but what are we doing for them?
I'll tell you what. See, in case if you will go and watch the YouTube, there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are there digitally. They are earning more than all of us.
And that is in the
being
kitchen only.
Yes. Okay.
That is in the kitchen
Correct.
only, I can say.
Money starts from the
Yes.
home kitchen. Actually, that is true. Okay. However, you could have changed this word, to financial digital literacy or something, or in a particular field. That will make a whole difference. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next presenter is Dr. Kumutavalli MB from Iicssr College of Arts, Science and Commerce. Title of the paper is Multilingual Voice-Based Integral Model for Ethics, the Divyangjan Rail Card.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, respected session chair and my dear colleagues. So, it gives me a privilege, and I need to thank you for providing us an opportunity to stand here and tell about the voice-based integrated model for the ethics. So, our team has specialized Dr. Kumudavalli ma'am, Deputy Director of MCA, Professor Purnima Punekar, and myself, Ranjini, as an assistant professor working in the computer application department. So, here we are going to talk about the voice-based multilingual voice-based model system for the ethics. So the Divyangjan Rail Card is a railway identity card issued from the Indian Railway to the individual with the disability. This card enables to hold a train concession for the train driver. So sensitization on this facility is an issue. It's a need for this our issue. So this article gives the complete insight of the applications, schemes, and concessions that have been given to the Divyangans through the voice based system. So through the voice-based system that will assist the user in the different languages. The Indian writer system is essential for connecting rural as well as urban cities. So here so we will be telling about the accessibility as well as inclusivity are the main keywords that we are going to face it on the that have been followed from the Indian Railways, and that will be ensuring that they will be providing the information for the disabilities and all. So to have the availability on the Epic card, so it is known as that the Divyangan Right card is also officially known as Epic, which turns to be like e-ticketing photo identity card. So to have the availability of this Epic card, the candidate must be followed in one of the category. It turns to be like visual impairment as well as mental retardation and hearing and speech impairment as well as orthopedic disabilities and all. So the railways, the facilities will be given from the railway team will be like this. It comes to be like for 3D AC and chair car and seating and sleeper coach and all. They'll be getting 75% of concession, and two two AC and one AC will be giving the 50% of concession. Next, the methodology will be explained by Kosi.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. So I'll be explaining about the methodology which we are implementing in the multilingual voice-based integrated model. So basically, we are using to implement using the three different components. One thing we are such like we are creating a speech recognition model and language processing, supporting to the multiple language. So India is a country where we see that it has a multilingualistic languages are there. So it's according to the research I've seen, it has 179 language, having 544 dialects are there. So we are trying to implement the methodology with taking three components here. So talking about the step-by-step methodology we want to build in our integrated model is that first is that we want to define the use case and the language. The use case scenario where we want to train the scenario where the system can understand the customer requirement and based on the language it will implement with the use case scenario. The second one is that we want to gather the speech. You can see that it says collecting the multilingual speech data. It is collecting all the speech information, gathering the information, then it is trying to detect and translate in the natural language processing. Then we have a various language model, integrated model we have. Then we have text to speech lingual model outputs, where text output is being detected and it is recognized with the natural language. Then we have system integration, where we are integrating all the set of system to implement in this useful information. Finally, we are doing the testing and refining in such a way that if there is any error, we'll find to rectify it and going to give the fine tuning to the model. Finally, we want to deployment the system in such a way that user find it more efficient whenever it is using the multilinguistic implementation through our app. So the further session will be continued by Professor Kumudavali.
Thank you, Purnima. Happy to tell that we are in the baby step of making this model come to a true picture. Thanks to Iicssr for giving this opportunity, because the day we started with it, we knew very few information about it. It gave us a lot of scope where we understood the model, what is the real necessity of it, and now we are happy and proud to say that we might really apply for a project, because looking at the step that we have done, it was a great motivation that we had thanks to Iicssr. I would just like to say the proposed multilingual voice-based model that we are planning to do, as my friends told, the steps that we are following. What exactly happens is we are supposed to define our use case. That exactly means that if a person is really visually impaired, he is not able to know things. We can define the use cases like what are the train timings, or probably what are the trains from where to where it will go, or whether do we have the facility, what type of facilities are there, what are the concessions. So these are all called the different use cases that we have to define before even we do it. And multilingual, because user can be from any language, so the input comes into a rural or whatever base, that particular native language they would be using. Once the information is given as a voice, okay, that has to be recognized. That helps us collect the data, because we have to know the different linguals that we have, what exactly jargons to be used, etc. So there we will have to do a lot of language translation, that's like common voice, or maybe that is vox coach, which will really help us to do that.
and the data that we collect has to be pre-processed obviously before even we build the actual model. Then comes this speech recognition. This is, I think most of us would be knowingly, unknowingly already using, thanks to Alexa that we have, everybody has it. So the first process is turning the speech, whatever as the input given by the user, to the text. Okay, that again, we have a lot of tools. We have explored 2 or 3 in that. One is called the Google Cloud. All of us know we have OpenAI, and I would like to stress this: if at all we get a chance to work ahead, we may have to adopt the Kaldi. Kaldi is one of the software which helps you to build your own model, because not all the already pre-processed languages are used. If I have to do only the questionnaire pertaining to rail, then again we will have to build our own model. So to customize, we may have to go through that. Then the language detection, as I said, the voice will be the input, and we have to recognize which language is it coming in, and then we will have to do a switching technique. So we may have to depend on the libraries which are existing, because there is a literal translation of the exact word in a native language which is given to the actual text that we have. And once that is done, the integration of that has to be done as a model, and that is nothing but our NLP. We have latest technologies like bird transformers, which will really help us. Once the information now is gathered and integrated, then the text to speech has to be done, because our output again has to be a voice based model. Since it's a voice based, input is also voice and output is also voice. So that is again a remodeling of whatever speech to text we have done. We may have to do a text to voice or text to speech. Again, we have tools which can help us. The best part is the integration. All the other 6 steps we may have to use it here, so that we do the integration, like take the input, process it, apply it to the natural language, whatever that you are using, process it, then get the response generated. And that response again has to be converted to the speech, because the output is again a voice model. The best part is doing testing and refinement, because before even we give it to the market to use it, we will have to do a good testing, and we have to verify the accuracy. I wish to stress on the point called cross language. Whenever we have a translator from Kannada, we take a word and we translate it. I have worked closely with the translation of languages exclusively in Sanskrit. We have done a lot of work where I can understand whatever Sanskrit notions we have. It does a literal translation. It is not the meaningful translation that it does. So, as a sentence, when we read, we may not be really getting the impact of what is there in Sanskrit, but we do get the English text. So, this is one challenge that we may face, like cross language, that we have to verify. And once the testing and refining is done, the last point is to do the deployment. All of us are very happy having a handheld devices, maybe our mobile tabs, etc. So it depends totally on, since it's a government initiative, thanks to Indian Railway, they're doing a great job. And if you have to integrate it, then it can be an on-premises one. That means even in the stations we can keep it. Now also we do have kiosks, but not in all the stations. It again depends on the BCT, ACT, which facility, what facility we do have. The second thing is the mobile devices. It is accessible to all. That is one of the idea. Otherwise, talk to the cloud people. If we can really put it as a centralized departure, then it is very easy for everybody, easy to access. So this is the actual architecture that we are willing to do. As I said, it could be real-time work that we wish to do. So I would like to conclude by telling that Indian Railway is doing a great job by giving a lot of offers. Not that nothing is being done. A lot of things are there. We tried contacting the R&D department of railways also, so we could know what exactly they are working on. So there is always a need of the hour. See, obviously, if we are working, it is the need of the hour job. So we have just found that the apps and the voice-based system is really not in place, except for the announcements that happens at the station. They don't have anything voice-based yet. So this is one of the integration that we would wish to really work upon. And these are few of the references. So thank you. Open for questions.
Do you want to ask? Or should I go?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, it is just a suggestion from my end, because this is not my field, but what I understand as a audience, in case if you're giving up any of the app, I mean, this is the prototype what you want
Yes.
to give it to them on your behalf, right? So there has to be a one pilot study which is being done.
Yes.
Again, it will involve a costing about it.
Yes. Yes.
So
very much.
in case if the pilot study, how many people you want to implement on, and then the costing which will be involved, because this whole process, for me, it is like a prototype which you want to propose
Yes,
and get it patentable on
yes,
your name,
yes.
right? For that, how much financial parameters will come into an existence?
I would say not much, except for the hardwares. Thanks to our computer domain, because we have open AIs, open softwares, a lot of contributors are there. So we do have a lot of language models which are open. But as I said, we will have to do only to the railway system. Then it's a lot of research that we have to do. language translators support we need to take. The gadget, whatever we are using, probably it is all modeled. Like, we can use apps are now easy to do. A lot of open sources are there. But still, when you have to implement and test, it's a lot of challenge. And we may have to fight with a lot of companies because, again, hardware implementation and app integration, we will have to depend on them. So probably I don't say it's a costly affair if it comes to a government sponsorship. But truly, I'll tell you the truth. The way we started doing, and during our study only, we came to know that we will have to
No,
implement.
your
So I'll have
efforts
to
are
work.
being seen. My only
Yeah.
concern is when, like, suppose even if you go for the, because this can be a one of your project
Yes,
or can be
yes.
a patentable. I look only from that outcomes.
Yes.
That's what we are training for. So for me, it is a good initiative. My only concern is how would you show that the pilot study was successful
Okay.
and how it will come into your financial parameters.
Okay.
That's
We really have to work because it's really a theoretical idea that we got. But as you are telling, there are 3 steps where the finance comes into picture. So we really have to do a big homework to find out what it is. Thanks for your suggestion. Surely we'll do that before even we go. Since a small amount of integration we can do without anybody's intervention, like speech to text, text to speech, making in either Kannada or only in English or only in Hindi, which is common. But real-time conversions, we really need a lot of people's involvement in it. We'll surely do that homework and find out. Thank you.
Is it the similar type of the apps it is already Indian Railway developed?
Not exactly, sir. IRCTC is the one up and running actual portal which speaks about all the details and study, but there is no voice-based reply that is there. For Divyangans, yes, there is a app, but it would just tell about the details or the concision. That too through the IRCTC portal only. There is no exclusive app till done, for exactly voice-based. Okay, since if I'm speaking of visually impaired or physically challenged person, there are kiosks. There is a device called as kiosk, which is just like a computer, which would be helpful to them if they go to that particular place. We found a big study on it. Not all the platforms are helpful to the Divyangans. Not all the places also. Only famous train stations. There is a restriction. I think 48 trains come into that station. The facility is there. Not more than or less than that. They don't have so much of facility. So not everywhere we have this implementation of kiosks. So this could be a real-time, implementation that we can do and accessible to all. If they are a co-passenger or a helper or he himself can take this benefit. So
But
it's not
still, because it is the government of India that all the things, whatever the apps that you are going to develop, without that integrated with that system, you
of
cannot
course.
individually cannot implement it.
That's what I
So
said.
that's-
A lot of
it is
challenges that we have to
challenges are
address
there.
and
Yes.
go through a company only, sir. See, I cannot really patent the hardware component that I'm using. Though it's a mobile phone, is it ours? But that app integration has a process, so that has to go through either railways or through Indian government or some ICSSR people, who are government bodies who can
Definitely,
support
it's
us.
very
That
good
is.
initiative, very good initiative. Somewhere else, because the now government of India is collecting and collaborating with all the research institutions and
Institutions.
organizations. So that
Yes.
who knows that one, even your initiative in that next level that they also will be implemented. So the better when you are going for that one, what Madam she told that one,
We have
you
to work
must
on
apply
it.
for the patent. So that
Even
Thank you for
I
that
have one
suggestion.
more point, just a suggestion. If
Yes.
you can just see which area is there where you have more amount of, more number of disabled people.
Okay.
That will-
Usage.
Yeah.
Case
So
study you
because
have.
that becomes your pilot study that we had done the research in that by developing the app in the mobile phone and all, and then probably
We have
can
to go to the next
yeah.
step.
But it's a huge process.
I know. I mean, during
It's a-
the work only we understood
yeah,
the depth,
it's a-
and we are happy and
But
thanks
you
for
can
the floor.
definitely do the prototype for the design in case if it comes to implementation, it will be a good patentable ideas on all of your needs.
Thank you.
That's what I said.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next presenter is Professor Tejaswini L. Kulkarni from Iicssr College of Arts, Science and Commerce. Title of the paper is Emotional Intelligence and Women in India.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, each and everyone. Uh, my title is a systematic review of literature study on emotional intelligence and women in India. Myself, Professor Tejaswini L. Kulkarni, Assistant Professor, Department of MBA, PU, BSc. My guide, my co-author is my guide, Dr. Iicssr Lakshman, Professor in BNMIT. Okay. Yeah, and women in India. Basically, I want to talk about today's woman. So we can able to say that today's woman is making a lot of effort and success. Sorry, in the field of science, technology, Bollywood, entertainment, sports, entrepreneurship, and government offices. Many other spaces are there. We can only see the achievements. We can only see the. I can able to see the first layer of the sea. We couldn't able to see what she will go through in the process of making her successful. Everything looks good and all. So we can able to see the fast-paced competitive in the fast-paced competitive world. We can able to see that woman is going through a lot of educational, social, family, emotional issues, which are having directly concern and impact over her mental and emotional well-being. Emotional intelligence, as we can able to say that it is knowing and shaping our own emotions and learning to understand others also. So, however, the present gender roles, societal expectation, cultural barriers, followed by the ancient Indian framework, will somehow pulls her back to perform those roles first and other roles as the next part. In the span of last 10 years or 20, AI has taken a lot of prominence in the field of research. So basically, in the field of knowledge, skills, abilities, personal life, professional life, and so on. So basically, it is the AI is understanding and regulating one's emotions with others. And we can able to see when it comes for Indian context, emotional intelligence play a very prominent role because of the kind of social barriers, cultural barriers we are having, and we are being posed with many of the other restrictions also. The goal, sorry, the goal, the Goldman's competency model of EI. The Daniel Goleman is considered as the father of EI. In the year 1995, it is through his book who has given a 5 factors of EI to the world, which talks about self-awareness, managing emotions, motivating oneself, empathy, and social skills. Why these factors are so important when it comes to the picture of Indian woman? We always, first and foremost, we have been controlled for self-expression, which talks about social skills also, and we are always being forced to be empathetic for family member roles and responsibilities. That is second thing which is imposed, which controls the self-expression also. Followed by the next, despite. Okay, what is the problem? Despite we can see many successful aspects, many successful examples and all, we can't see many. There are the many pullouts are there with us. We can able to see the education is there. Still, there is a gender disparities there. It might be even in our education stream. Even it might be even at our home also. Okay, many questions are being raised about us or asked about us on the basis of the gender. The next is, sorry. In the in the field of our success, most of the time our culture, our responsibilities come into the picture, and which is being questioned by also. That is a major thing. Even though a lot of success we can able to see many challenges are also there in the picture. So to overcome all those things, I personally feel that EI plays very important role for the woman in India. After going through the certain literature reviews, it has been very clearly visible that the lot of research work is going on between the women and work-life balance, women and leadership positions, and many more, women in education industry and all. But there is no significantly much work is visible in the way or in the line of EI and women in India. My research questions most of like I want to look into the level of EI with respect to the different industry. I have chosen 4 industry. One is healthcare, bank, education, sports. So my objectives and research methodology is I have chosen a secondary data, of course. I've majorly taken first and foremost with the 40 different literature reviews, followed by filtered and after chosen 50 as the most prominent literature reviews for my work. The major like you're able to see, it plays very important role, but the industry wise, the EI and women in India are having significant differences. For example, in the sports, the EI with international athletes is very high, whereas when it comes for when female plays in a teams, her EI is more comparatively when female goes with a individual teammate. And most of the time, female athletes faces lots of sports anxiety compared to the male athletes. In a healthcare sector, experienced doctors and nurses are having good amount of EI, where the freshers are having low amount or lower level of a EI. In education, yeah. In education, we can able to see there is a mixed amount of EI. Sometimes it is high, sometimes it is medium, sometimes it is even less than average also. With the banking, again, it comes to the experience. Experienced employees are having higher amount of emotional intelligence. At the conclusion of a further study, I want to say that there are no particular, there is less research work is there in the field of EI with respect to particular work dynamics with respect to the particular industry. I further expect that there should be the particular EI programs or EI trainings with respect to the different roles with respect to the different industries. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Anyone has any questions?
I want your say on either emotional question is same as like EI. Is there any difference and what is the difference?
See, emotional.
And what is the part of what? EI is a part of EQ or EQ is a part of AI?
Emotional quotient was it was a previously used. Right now it is EI. I want to say that it is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a part of EI. I was told it here. It's not.
Ma'am, I just have one thing to this. On what basis we define the 4 industries? Like you have taken banks, sports, healthcare and education. So was there a specific reason to take up those 4 industries?
Yes.
Or what was the, did you find any research gap? Or
Yeah. To prove emotional intelligence and the women, I found these 4 industries are little bit tougher thing away because where they are having very strict rules, regulations, changed work dynamics, changed work cultures. So these 4 industries do a lot of like I found it like the stress is more in these 4 industries. So I've chosen this as one of the problems. Anything you want? Anything you want? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next presenter is Professor Nagarajeshwari M. The title of paper is Empowering Inclusion, Enhancing Accessibility and Promoting Employment Opportunity for Women.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sanjana and from third year BCom, and my co-authors are Assistant Professor Nagarajeshwari M and Dr. Chitra, and presenting paper on empowering inclusion, enhancing accessibility, and promoting employment opportunities for the young. So the abstract of the paper goes like, the rights of the person with disability and fundamental rights, the basic fundamental rights are very essential for every individual. And Divyangjan are facing many problems with fundamental rights and accessibility issues. And we are here to create an inclusive society, a society which strives for everybody equal opportunities, where they have equal employment opportunities, fundamental rights, and accessibility issues. So introduction, go right. So we know that India is a very diverse country, but India is also a home for 70 million of Divyangjans. Divyangjans, which refers to people with disability in Hindi.